Hello, hello. So today I am going to give you a peek behind the curtain into my world. So, for context, though, for those of you who maybe don't know much about me, I am a wife and a mama of four children, and they are sleeping right now, which is why I'm speaking a little quietly. And we have been homeschooling our kids for 2 years now, except for, of course, the 3-year-old, because, you know, he's three. And I started homeschooling because the schedule of school was honestly driving me crazy. And I hated, hate's a strong word. It was really frustrating for me having uniforms and lunch boxes and sports days and book days and having to be somewhere when every single other area of our lives felt really chosen and intentional. This area felt forced and I didn't like it. And some people are going to come at me and tell me that that is selfish. And I have come to terms that selfish is okay because when mum is happy and grounded, the kids are happy and grounded. And I had to make a decision that was going to be the best for our family, even though my kids loved school and were thriving at school and would, of course, rather spend every single moment with their friends. So, yes, I realized that this was a selfish move. And I also do want to take the charge out of that sentence, out of that word, and normalize that a happy mum, happy parents set the tone actually for the whole household. So for us, we are all better off when mum is happy and calm and joyful. And yes, of course, I do also, as much as I can, make school fun for them. And they do see their friends and they do a bunch of after school activities. And yes, they also miss their friends. But that is the trade off, right? No solution is ever going to be perfect. And I'm choosing the one looking back that I would have rathered as a child, um, or at least as an adult, having that history, because we now get to travel the world for months at a time. And that's all because of the life that we've chosen. That would not be possible if I was sending four kids to private school. Just in terms of financially, that would probably not be viable. And how can you do that when you have school commitments and all of that? And also, I reserve the right to change my mind at any point. And if any of my kids were seriously unhappy, of course, I would listen to them and make some changes. But we are all actually really thriving with homeschool. And what that means for us and what that looks like in a practical day to day is it means later mornings for my kids, not for me. Like I said, my kids are sleeping. It's pre 6 a.m. right now. But they get to study what they want to within reason. And we get more time together. We have a flexible schedule. We have more adventures, more fun together as a family. And they have most of the day actually to play and be kids. And I just want to touch on that they get to learn what they want to piece to clarify what that means. So I am doing this in a way that I hope will allow my kids to move back into school at any point, should they choose to or should we choose to. So I am not unschooling them, which means just learn by play, no real assessment on all of that. Depending on how you do that, other people might have different definitions of that. For me, we still do English and it's tied to the level of the curriculum. They're all ahead at this point. We do maths, again, similar, tied to the curriculum, but more on an actual mastery based program. But it's structured. There's workbooks, there's assessments, so we know exactly where they're at, what and what they need help with. And then when they get to learn what they would like to learn, for example, part of what's in the curriculum for my kids at the moment is colonization of Australia. And so when we were learning about that, Ned Kelly came up in some of the videos that we were watching. And so now the kids have dove into learning about Ned Kelly. Now, that's not on the curriculum at this point. That wasn't part of what I was planning to teach them, but that really interested them, about how he was a bank robber and how he stole horses and what he wore for armor and how he made the armor and all of that. And so now we're talking about that. And we actually had driven through the town that he was born in and before, like the 2 days before he's learned about Ned Kelly. So that's what I mean by they get to learn what they want to, because there's so much space, because we can honestly learn the whole year's worth of curriculum in a term in terms of what's required and documented. And so it leaves a lot of space for extra learning, for additional subjects, and for projects that they're passionate about. So let's dive into tactically what this actually looks like to maintain homeschooling and actually give them a rich education, and how I do that alongside running a business and not go crazy in the meantime. So for me, I get early mornings completely to myself. So typically I wake up between 5 and 6 a.m. and I have until 9:30 to do whatever I want. And during that time, my husband is on kid duty and it's his job to get them fed and dressed and ready to start the day. So for me, in my morning time, I do my morning mindset routine. I read my Bible. I do any journaling that I want to do. I write. I go to the gym at 8 o'clock most days. And then when I walk back in the door at like 9:15, I have a coffee and I take over the kid duty. That's typically what my morning looks like. Right now, I'm recording this super, super early, which I normally don't do. But my husband is volunteering in Vanuatu for 10 days. And so he left at 3 o'clock this morning. So I thought I better just get up now and record a few podcasts. So that's what I did this morning. And that is the freedom and flexibility that I get. And yeah, it means I'm going to be really tired later and go to bed early, but that's fine. At least I know that the podcast is going out, even though we are batched in ahead of time. That's okay. I am maintaining my batch scheduling schedule, even with a weird week. Okay. So when I actually start homeschooling at 9:30, I school them until about 12:30. And that is the bulk of their like desk proper structured learning for the day. We can get that done in 3 hours. So the first hour is a rotation of Greek language learning, reading and handwriting, and piano. So there's one child on each station. So my children at the moment, they are 6, 8, and 11. I delayed that because my son's 9 in like a week. So they're in grade 1, grade 3, and grade 6 right now. So they typically learn the same thing, and I extend them as they need to be extended. So I base everything on either actually, I'll go into that later. So for the first hour, they've each picked one. Either they're learning Greek, they're doing reading and writing, or they're doing piano, and they do that for 20 minutes, and then they swap around. So I help my 6-year-old with those things, and then I make sure that the other two are just doing their work, and the 3-year-old runs around and makes a mess. Of course, as 3-year-olds are good at doing. After that, we get into English and maths. We use a combination of tools that I've tried a lot over the 2 years. And what we use is a combination now. We use Brave Writer, which is a program from the US by Julie Bogart, and she's incredible. I love her book, The Brave Learner, and I love her approach to holistic learning and how that really helped to teach me that how school does learning isn't how we have to do it. Homeschooling doesn't have to be schooling at home. It's not what we did in COVID, right, which was very traumatic for everyone involved. This is much more organic, much more fluid, much more fun, but you can still really have benchmarks there to make sure that they're actually learning. From there, we use Literacy Planet, which is an online program that is linked to the Australian curriculum, and that I assign tasks for grammar and for spelling and for comprehension. And that really makes me feel like I am not leaving any gaps, because with the Brave Writer concepts, we're reading a book, or the kids are reading their own book, and then we talk about the grammar and the language used, but it doesn't assess them to a level. It just has conversations around those things, which is really useful and a bit more tangible and fun when they actually come into writing themselves. But Literacy Planet is, I feel like my stopgap for that. And all of these are paid programs, but none of them, in my opinion, are super expensive. Brave Writer, I think, is a few $100, maybe $250 for the year. Literacy Planet is $3 per child per month, Australian. All of these are Australian. And we also then use the Night Zoo, which I wouldn't have bought, I don't think, now that I have those other two, but I bought Night Zoo before Literacy Planet. But the kids love it. It's a bit more gamified, and it gets them to do some writing, some typing. So for that, it's good. But I won't renew that license. Whereas Brave Writer and Literacy Planet, I'll continue. I love both of them, and they complement each other. For maths, we use Maths Australia, that program, and it's a multi-sensory program and a mastery-based program. So it means that we use blocks, like manipulatives, coloured manipulatives, that the kids use to learn how and see what the maths problems actually are. So that's not just squiggles on a page, but we actually make it concrete, and then they know how to apply maths. And it's, again, not just squiggles. It's also not a spiral approach where they do a little bit of addition and a little bit of subtraction and a little bit of multiplication and a little bit of division. They do all of division and subtraction first, then they move on to all of multiplication, and then they move on to division, and so they master it. And so in that way, my daughter, my grade 6 child, who previously was doing a grade 6 workbook, is now working a bit behind her level to make sure she has mastery, but it means that she will actually be ahead by the end of the year. So we are really enjoying this approach. The kids are loving maths a lot more because they really feel like they understand it. It's heaps of repetition, and they get to use blocks, and they get to watch videos that explain each concept. And I'm learning how to teach maths, which is actually amazing. I never thought that I would want to do that, but yet it's actually nice to fill in your own learning and be like, oh, I never understood it that way. That makes so much more sense when you learn how you learn. Anyway, so that's fun for us. That's what we have been doing this year. And the English and maths together take about an hour, and the kids get snacks in that time while they're working. They have a break then around 11:30. Typically, they go outside on the trampoline, jump around, do the totem tennis, and then that's just a quick break. And then at 11:45 or 12, we do our last table work for the day. And this is usually either science or history. And though, like I said, all of the subjects merge because they write reports on what they learn, and they might do a slide deck. So they're incorporating digital technology, they're incorporating English, then they can draw what they learn, and then they present orally what they learn, and they draw maps, and they figure out hypotheses of things, and we are doing critical thinking and asking questions. So we don't follow a schedule with these subjects, and one subject might take us one lesson or it might take us 12 lessons, depending on how we go with it, how the kids go, how interested they are. And I use books for these things. So I use The Story of the World for history, which is a really incredible series. I think it's 3 or 4 books that we're only in the first one, but it starts back like right at how people created villages and civilization. And so we're in ancient Egypt at the moment, which the kids are really liking learning about hieroglyphics. And again, so like then that extends onto other things, and we're learning about mummies, and so they learn a lot more than I think that we're going to, just because of what sparks their interest, which is really cool. And yeah, so and then for science at the moment, we are using 2 books. One's a biology textbook, and one's more of a kiddie kind of my human body book, and we move between the 2. Okay, so that's that one. And so basically we do our starter of the day, which is the reading, writing, Greek, and piano. Then we do English and maths. Then we do one other subject for the day. And after that, they have lunch, and I get to go to work. In the afternoons at around 12:30, I swap with my husband, and he will take them out to go and do sport or a passion project like coding, or they'll watch a documentary, they'll go to the library, they'll do a music lesson, they'll go to the beach, or they'll watch TV, or whatever. It's not typically planned, and they do what they want to do, because as a primary student, we can, like I said, get through the curriculum in 3 hours in the day with just English and maths and one other subject. So they already do more than that. And so whatever the afternoon looks like, I'm actually fine, as long as they're not watching TV every day. So then I work from around 12:30 to 4:30-ish, and my days are blocked by tasks. So either I'm in meetings, or I'm doing client work, or I'm doing content, or I'm doing strategy. Then my goal is that we all go for a walk together, and lately that has not been happening, but that's the goal, depending on how much work I have, what the weather's like, what activities we've got that day, all the things. And then we normally make dinner together, and then we'll do the after school activities, or we read books together. And then the evenings we all clean up, and then hubby and I get to sit down and actually have a cup of tea or a bath and actually connect. And that is our day. And it is full, and it is noisy, and it is messy, but it is exactly what we wanted. And it's really intentional. Everything that we've put in our day is intentional. And that doesn't mean that it's not chaotic, or that it's perfect all the time, or that the kids are always really excited to sit down and do work, or that sometimes we don't throw it all out and just like bake cookies and make forts and stay in our pajamas, because we totally do that sometimes. And yes, we do have school holidays as well. The kids were adamant. I wasn't going to do school holidays, but kids were very adamant that school holidays was going to be a thing. So that's what we did. So I'm going to do another episode a little later on what this looks like when we're traveling, because this year we traveled for 2 months in Asia as a test run to see whether we could take this show on the road. And it's all systems go. So now we've booked 6 months for next year, 2-3 month blocks. And that looks a little bit different. So I will do another episode on that. So let me know what your questions are, what your comments are. And I know that this is very unconventional, but nothing that my family and I do is really very conventional, which is exactly how we like it. And I guess that's it from me. I look forward to hearing what you want to know more about, what surprised you, whether that inspires you to maybe be a bit more intentional about the things that are in your day. And yeah, that's my version of freedom, guys. For now, in this phase of life with little kids, this is perfection for me. And I hope that you're chasing your perfection. That is it from me today. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.